Hey, welcome back. So the time has finally come. My Sony A7S Mark III is finally here, and today I'm going to be telling you about my settings for this camera. Before we get into the video, be sure to like the video if you end up liking it and subscribe for a lot more videos on this camera. But with that being said, let's get into the settings. So underneath image quality, let's go over to file format. And this isn't as straightforward as it may seem. There's actually 3 different options for 4K video recording. Let me know if you want a video on the difference between all these codecs, but as a brief overview, the quality goes SHS-SI, with SI being the highest quality possible, and this does come at the expense of very, very large file sizes. But knowing me, I just spent like $4,000 on this camera, so I'm gonna go with SI. So going down to movie settings, we can change our frame rate. You can go all the way up to 120 frames per second. And then we can choose our bit rate with things like SI selected. It does not give you the option to change it, but with the other 2, you can actually have the option to change it. So let's go down to shoot mode, camera set memory. You're gonna be able to save your camera settings as it is underneath the 1, 2, or 3 from the dial at the top. So under my first option, I have 24 frames per second. My second option is 60 frames per second, and my third option is 120 frames per second. So I'm able to switch between those modes very, very quickly depending on what I'm shooting. But obviously you can have this be whatever works best for you. Go down to shooting display, emphasize display during recording and turn that on. So now whenever you press record, there's gonna be this big red box around your screen to let you know that you're recording. This is kind of nice. This is very helpful. I'm gonna go all the way down to the 11th spot where it says marker display. I'm gonna turn marker display on, go to the aspect marker, choose 1.85 to 1. If you haven't noticed, all my videos are in a 2:1 aspect ratio, so this just shows me where my guidelines are. So we're gonna go down to the next tab, go down to exposure, the ISO range limit. We're gonna have the minimum be 80 and the maximum be 102,400. We're setting this limit because this is the ISO range that performs best on this camera to produce the highest quality image. Now we're gonna go down to color tone. We're gonna go to picture profile. And I actually have 2 different picture profiles on here. So my picture profile number 1, we're gonna use HLG2 under our gamma, and then our color mode is gonna be 709. So I love HLG2. We're using that right now for our colors, and this is very good for things like vlogs and stuff where you don't wanna have intense color grading. But for times where you do wanna have intense color grading, we're gonna set up picture profile number 2. Go to our gamma as S-Log3. Our color mode is gonna be S-Gamut3Cine. We're gonna increase the black limit by 2, and that is it for that. S-Log3 gives you the most dynamic range with this camera, so if you wanna take this camera to its limits, you're gonna wanna use S-Log3. I have a corrective LUT in the description to help you color grade your S-Log footage if you want. But going back into our menu, we're gonna go down to zebra display and we're gonna change the level to 90. So this is just the clipping where the zebras actually show up. We're gonna change tabs once again, and under the first option, go to autofocus transition speed, and we're gonna change that to 6. So it's not quite the fastest, but it is gonna give you really, really speedy autofocus. Under focus area, we're gonna go down to color and change that to red. I just like that you can change the color. Now we're gonna go down to peaking display, change our level to high, and our color to whatever you want. I'm gonna choose blue. All right, now we're gonna skip a few tabs, go under the network tab, number 6, network option. Airplane mode, we're gonna turn this to on to help save some battery life a little bit. Now under setup, we're gonna go to operation customize and then custom key settings. This is where you really get to make this camera your own. There's so many different custom keys that you can change. It's gonna help you like speed up your process, and it's really gonna make your camera unique to you. So under custom button number 2, we're gonna change that to zoom. I have clear image zoom on just in case I wanna punch in just a little bit. I mostly use prime lenses, so it's nice to have. 3, we have autofocus, manual focus, select toggle. So this just changes between autofocus and manual focus. Number 4, we have monitor brightness. I like having it right here just in case I'm just in the sunlight and I need to increase the brightness really quickly. Number 5, we have touch operation select. So this is a touch screen. You can like touch it in the menu and fully touch it, but if you don't want that, You can turn it off temporarily in case you're on a shoot, you don't want anything messed up. So number 6 down here at the trash can, I have that as my zebras, so I can turn my zebras on to check my exposure and turn them back off. All right, so under the next tab, number 2, we're gonna change that to switch focus area. So this is the center button on your dial, and when you click it, it's gonna toggle between your different focusing modes. So the next one I changed is number 5, or the bottom button on your dial, and I have this as my white balance, so I can quickly change my white balance. So under the next tab, I changed the second button to be Gamma Display Assist. This is helpful with things like S-Log, so it brings Rec 709 colors to your image so you don't have to look at a whole bunch of gray. You can have a better understanding of what you're filming. And then finally, I have my lens button as autofocus on. This is just gonna hunt for your focus whenever you press it. So it's kind of nice to have. Now we're gonna go down to the FN menu settings. I'm only gonna be changing the video settings for this, so let's go down to the video. So on all of the edges, I don't have anything. So going over, we have marker display. This is obviously gonna display your markers. So in my case, we have that 1.85:1 aspect ratio. The next one is the focus area, but we didn't change that. Then we have audio record level. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can change your audio record level. Now we have steady shot. So the active steady shot in this camera is really, really impressive. So if you want to turn that on, it is going to crop in just a little bit, but like I said, if you don't have a gimbal, it's really impressive. So you can change from the standard to the active very quickly. Next, we have metering mode. So this is gonna help you get the perfect exposure within your shots. Then we have silent mode. So this is gonna turn off any beeps or anything in case you're in like a wedding or an event and you don't wanna have a good old beep every time you press record or stop recording. The next one I have here is picture profile. So you can change between your S-Log3 and HLG2 or whatever other picture profile you prefer. And then the next thing we have is the S&Q frame rate in case you got to do time lapses or slow motion. All right, going out of that, let's go down to record with shutter and turn that on. Obviously, if you're in video recording mode, you don't need the shutter to be a shutter and take a photo. So there's a big button right here that you can utilize as your record button. Let's go down to Finder Monitor. Under the first option, let's only select monitor. So this way, if you cover the EVF, the monitor does not turn off. Like I said, when you're filming video, this is kind of helpful. All right, under the power setting option, power save start time, I'm gonna turn that to 30 minutes, but you might wanna have that as 5 minutes. And then auto power off temperature, we're gonna turn that to high. I don't think that this camera overheats, but this is gonna help that not overheat. And with that, I think we're done. So these are my settings for the Sony A7S Mark III. This might change as I use this camera more often, but who knows? You'll have to subscribe to see if it does. That's about it. All right.